On this week's show, Amherst, Nova Scotia product, former Maine Black Bear, and third overall draft selection in the NWHL, Carly Jackson. Carly, welcome to the show. It's an honor and a privilege to really talk to you at this time. Congratulations are in order. Third overall in the NWHL. Carly, how are you feeling right now in this moment?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here. I'm pretty excited about the draft pick last night and getting to celebrate everything with my family. It was pretty special. We were sitting around the dinner table, just hanging out, and we kept refreshing the Twitter feed, and my name came up, and Pat LaFontaine announced my name, and I don't think I'll ever forget it. It was pretty amazing.
Were you expecting to go in the draft and to go that high? Had anyone from Buffalo spoken to you or throughout the season? And how does the NCAA, are you allowed to talk to professional teams like that in season?
So during the season, I had reached out, or a couple people had reached out and spoken with me, but it was mostly about playing if Maine had not made the playoffs, but we did make playoffs. So that wasn't the case. And then after my season was over, I spoke to a few different GMs from different clubs. And then I kind of narrowed it down from there and decided that I wanted to go to Buffalo. So a few days before the draft, the GM gave me a call and told me that I was going on Tuesday. And so I knew then it was either the first or the second round. And then she told me it was the first round and that I was their first pick. So that was pretty exciting. And it was difficult not to share, but it was definitely worth it to be able to celebrate with everybody now.
John and David Alexander have been very important in your journey in the game of hockey. What would you say to them right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those guys have been huge mentors for me, and they coached me from when I was still a little squirt, and I still go to them for advice and still ask for their brains and see what they think. I mean, those guys are absolutely brilliant, and they have a lot of passion for their students and everybody that they work with. So tons of credit to them, and I'm so grateful that I was privileged enough to continue to work with them and work with them throughout my childhood and my development as a goaltender.
Well, we have a special guest here for you, Carly, and 2019 Stanley Cup champion, believe it or not. Dave Alexander joins us. David, thank you so much. A repeat guest here on Sports Inclusive. There you go.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. Dave, what type of athlete and person is Carly Jackson?
Yeah, we were blessed, to have Carly come up quite a bit to Moncton, and they would take the Toyota Matrix and drive up, it was we had a lot of years where she would join us in the training center, that's for sure. And it was Carly was always interesting because she's really like determined and competitive, but like always smiling. It was funny, no matter how hard the drill was, or even if it was, the drill wasn't going her way, she always had that competitive edge and was really determined. But like I said, was always like a joy to work with because she was always so positive. That was fun for me because I feel like that's kind of a little bit of who we tried to portray ourselves as when we were coaching, especially in the years in the training center. So to have that reciprocated was a lot of fun. And to bring a lot of energy to a session as a coach and have it reciprocated is a great thing. So it was always a very really great time working with Carly during those years.
Carly, how rewarding is it to have Dave come on and to see Dave have so much success in his pro career? And has he been an inspiration to you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think even when I was a young kid, I could tell that the guy was brilliant. I even remember one of my early sessions. I think I was probably 10 or 11 years old, and Dave was training me at the center. And I just remember him yelling and saying, "There's someone else training harder than you in Manitoba or in Sweden." So it was just a form of motivation from just such a young age. And we always used to laugh and joke, and it was just so much fun. But it was just working with Dave. It was always easy to work hard. It was always easy to have fun. So I can't say I'm surprised to see him have so much success. I mean, it's been a long time coming, but he's certainly earned it, and there's no one more deserving.
Now, there's a connection from way back, obviously, but there's also a connection to Orono. Dave, do you want to talk about how special Orono is to you and to Carly, and maybe playing a role in her potentially going to Orono?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting times for me when I was, you know, early years coaching for me. I was in my early 20s and kind of transitioning out of university where I was coaching with the Fredericton Mid AAA Canadians. And I had nowhere to coach really after university. I was in Moncton. I was trying to get a major junior job, but all the jobs were taken at the time. So it was kind of difficult to find that next level. And I knew a goaltender who was going to Maine by the name of Scott Darling. And Scott had kind of reached out and said that the goalie coach from the previous year was retiring and there would be an opening. And he wasn't really too sure geographically how far I was. But, he had asked, he said, "Hey, could you drive down for practices?" And as crazy as that seems, that's what ended up kind of happening from Moncton. But that's how I got into Orono. And I remember when I was at the University of Maine, I was there for 5 seasons. And during that time, Carly was kind of, she was coming along for sure. And she was playing some really highly competitive hockey in Nova Scotia. And she was starting to, show some promise as a female athlete. And I remember mentioning to Dan Kurlock, who was one of the men's assistant coaches at the time, I said, "Hey, there's, a young girl just north here in Nova Scotia who I think really could probably play Division I hockey." Now, I don't know whatever happened with that. I don't know if that I have no idea if that kickstarted recruiting process to this day. I'm not sure. But I do remember, hey, like I'd hate for this program to miss out on that kind of an opportunity, because at the time Carly was probably the female athlete from our area that I knew of the most that could probably play Division I hockey. So obviously, I was trying to help Carly out and the university. But at the end of the day, people recommend people all the time. What matters is that the person you're recommending has to be good enough, and so it's one for me to say that, but it's two for Carly to perform. And it was just funny watching Carly grow up. Like every team she played, whether it was a men's team or a women's team, and whether it was baseball or music, I mean, whatever she was doing, she just kept performing and performing to standard and beyond. And so I think it was inevitable she'd end up being a Division I athlete, regardless my connection at Maine or not. But it's pretty cool though that it ended up being Maine. It's really neat because I have a lot of great memories from being at Maine as a coach, and I still have some contacts there. But obviously, watching Carly go through that was really, really, really unique and a lot of fun.
Carly, how special has the relationship between you and Dave and John been for you? And what did you learn the most from their tutelage to get you to Orono and to so much success at the University of Maine?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, when I was working with Dave and he was working in Orono, that was definitely a kickstart for me to have my eyes on Maine. John, Dave, and all the coaches throughout the years have definitely always been role models for me. So seeing Dave working at Maine, I was like, oh man, I want to be a Black Bear too. And then I started growing up, and the Black Bear started recruiting me. And once I went to visit, I was like, oh yeah, Dave was right about this place. This is awesome. I'm going here. So it was definitely a Kickstarter for me in choosing Maine, fortunately. But Orono is definitely a special place. In terms of my working with John and Dave and the whole program is honestly. Like, they just taught me how to reach that next level. I think it's so easy to work hard with their coaches and their staff. I mean, they make it so fun and they make it so rewarding, and it's just every session with them is always a joy. And I always remember finishing and always having a huge smile on my face. So I'm so grateful for that. But they just taught me how to reach that next level and find that next gear, and that's definitely helped me get to this level now. So I'm pretty grateful.
Well, it's an honor to have two great Black Bears today on the show, and two great pros. So, Dave, thank you so much for coming on here and surprising Carly, and continued success with the St. Louis Blues. We wish you the best of luck moving forward.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Congrats, Carly.
Yeah,
Good seeing you,
thanks so
Craig.
much,
Take
Dave.
care, guys. Thanks for having me.
Now back to regular scheduled programming here, Carly. What does it mean for Dave to come on today and kind of surprise you?
Oh, it's so awesome to see that guy. He's the best. I look up to him so much, and he's just been so successful. And he's definitely just got so much passion for the game and all of his students and people he works with. So I'm quite humbled to have him come out today.
Well, don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back with Carly Jackson, Buffalo Beaut first rounder on Sports Inclusive. Welcome back to Sports Inclusive, joined here by Carly Jackson. Carly, before the break, obviously talking to one of your mentors in David Alexander. What other people have been so critical and vital in your role, both as a professional goaltender now, and we can say that, and a college athlete?
Yeah, I think two of the biggest ones, first being my dad. I can't thank him enough for driving me to every rink across the Maritimes over the years. That guy is incredible, and there's so many things that I learned from him, and I'm just so thankful that he has been so supportive of me and that I can call him my dad. He's just incredible. I love that guy. And then the second being is definitely my coaches at Maine. They always believed in me from day one, and that belief never stopped. Even when I had struggles, they always just kept cheering for me and helped me be the best that I can. So I'm so thankful that I got to work with them for 5 years, and they helped me develop every single year and get to where I am now.
Some adversity at first, going down your first season. Talk to the folks at home about the difficulty and the adversity and the struggle that you had first, not really playing and redshirting that first season.
Absolutely. So I redshirted my first year. So that meant that I played no games, just practiced and lifted and everything. So that was a challenge in its own, because I knew going in that I wanted to do the 5 years with the red shirt. So I knew the whole year, I knew that I wasn't going to dress a single game. So it was hard. It was really hard. I missed playing hockey. I missed playing games. Practice is rewarding in itself, but a game is a whole different story. So that was definitely challenging mentally. So what I did during that year is I tried to refocus my head, refocus my mind, and say, okay, what can I do now to be ready for when I play that first game next year? And so what I started doing, I started working out during games. I started doing extra sessions, extra skills ice, extra goalie stuff, just really anything I could get my hands on. That really helped me kind of get through that year. And then once it was all over, I was like, okay, time to get going. I'm ready for this.
Why goaltending? Do you remember starting as a player in the game? And why did you turn to the goaltending position?
I actually think I started playing hockey because my dad plays. He used to play every Sunday morning with the old timers group in Amherst. So we used to go and watch him. And then he built an outdoor rink in our front yard. So I started skating around, and I wanted to play hockey because I wanted to be like him. And then once I ended up on for my first hockey team, I was 9 years old. I played in novice house league. They didn't have a designated goalie, so they just rotated around this donated gear. So when it was my turn, I got to put it on, and I was just so pumped. I was so excited. I just wanted to get back in, but everyone had to wait their turn. So then when it came back around for the second time, I was like, oh, put me in, put me in. So I was just so excited to have the gear on. And actually, the first night that I played, I came home that night and my dad came in to check on me, and I was in my bed asleep with all the gear on.
uh, Specialization, Carly. So many young kids are specializing in one sport. That's not you. When hockey season ended, the pads went away and competitive baseball. Um, Talk about your baseball career.
Yeah, absolutely. So I played baseball actually longer than I've been playing hockey. And arguably throughout my minor athletic career, I played at a higher level of baseball than I ever did hockey. Now I think that's flip flopped. I think I'm at a much higher level in hockey compared to baseball now. But at the time, baseball was actually my sport. So I started, I think, when I was 5 or 6 years old. I always played with the boys. And then when I became 16 ish, 15, 16, I played for the provincial team for Baseball Nova Scotia. So that allowed me to play with other women around the province. So then I continued to play men's baseball and women's baseball up until last year was my first season not playing, actually, because I was an athletic therapist in the Cape Cod Baseball League. So I was hoping to play again this summer, but unfortunately, I don't think it's going to work out with everything that's going on. But it doesn't stop me from having a catch. So
David mentioned it already. How difficult is it for young girls, especially around the Maritimes, to find themselves having to play at an elite level and finding themselves playing with men's hockey? Did that help your journey to get you to this point?
yeah, absolutely. When I was growing up and I was a young teenager, there was a lot of pressure. A lot of families and a lot of kids were either going to prep school or moving to a place that got more exposure, like somewhere like Quebec or Ontario. But we couldn't financially afford that, so it wasn't really much of an option for myself and my family. So we just kind of turned the focus into playing the highest level that I could, and it was a challenge being the only girl typically on an all boys team or an all boys program. But absolutely, that helped me become who I am as a person now, and even more so as an athlete. I just tried to find the best place that I could, and I was fortunate to meet a lot of great people in the process.
University of Maine. Why Orono? And really, how difficult is it for a maritime player and young girl to travel that far away from home and to go that route in the game?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it's hard to be to get exposed and to get scouted here in the Maritimes. Typically, there's not that much scouting here. They want you to go somewhere else, or people are always talking about these big tournaments and things like that. But I'm a strong believer that if you're good enough and you're a good enough person, people will find you. I just think that if you just keep working hard, your dreams will come true, and I have a strong belief in that. In terms of Orono, I just love it there. I love everything about Orono. I love the coaching staff. I love all the support staff, all the academics. I think it's incredible, and I'm very fortunate that I was able to get scouted by them and end up there.
How difficult is it, Carly, for young athletes to balance the academics and athletics?
Yeah, it's totally a grind. It's really hard to balance the school and the sports, but I think it's almost a blessing sometimes in disguise. It's really hard to be successful in both, but I think that being strong academically, it gives you a better sense of self and a better sense of identity, better confidence, so that you know that you can be successful in something else, no matter what it is that you study. But it helps you become a better athlete too, because that confidence builds, that sense of self builds, and your perseverance and all the qualities you use in the classroom just help you become a better hockey player.
Your fondest memory in 5 years at the University of Maine, Carly?
Oh, I think it's probably, I'm stuck between two. There was one 2 years ago, so it was my third season at Maine, but my sophomore season playing. We were in Vermont, and we were on like a pretty sweet winning streak. I think it was like 7 games or something, and we were playing two touch, which is the soccer game we play for warm-ups. And we just started blasting Mariah Carey's "All I Want for Christmas Is You," and everyone was singing, and we were playing soccer, and it was just amazing. I'll never forget it. And then the second one is probably playing against BU this past year in playoffs. We've had quite a rivalry with them, and we beat them in playoffs in overtime in a 3-game series. And then this year we brought them into double overtime in the first game, and we ended up winning. So I just remember jumping around with everybody, and it was just so special.
How nerve-wracking is it being a goaltender, and how do you balance your nerves and anxiety?
Yeah, it's kind of the curse of the position, but it's also the best thing about it, I think. I think being a goalie, you get an opportunity to either be the hero or the zero. I mean, a lot of people look at you when you lose a game, so but also when you win a game. So there's high risk, high reward, I think sometimes. But my biggest thing is during games is just focus what's going on inside the glass. Nothing else matters except for a small piece of rubber and everybody that you're doing it with. I think it's easy to get caught up at everything, but once you step on that ice, there's nothing else that matters, and it's one of the most special things about the sport, I think.
You're mentioning how special the sport is. How special is it to live out your dream currently, Carly, and play professionally, and also go after your master's degree this upcoming year? How special is that?
It's everything I ever dreamed of. I actually remember my senior weekend at Maine. I snuck my parents into the hockey rink like 11 or 12 at night, and just because I wanted to give them a sense of kind of what I do every day and where I spend my time. And I gave them some skates, and we went out on the ice and shooting around. And I remember just taking a break, and they were shooting, and I just remember looking around the Alphon and just thinking, this is everything I ever wanted. Like, I'm living my dream right now. I'm living what I always hoped I would. And moving forward now, a couple months later, and I'm drafted into a professional league and looking forward to a professional hockey career and hopefully a master's in school. And I'm continuing to live that dream, and I couldn't be more happy or more grateful.
Right now, Carly, the women's game, and I hate saying that because it's hockey, but
Mm-hmm.
how are you going to grow the sport, and how have you already grown that sport in your own opinion?
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing is just getting exposure, like getting these young kids, not just girls, but young boys too, to be able to see these elite athletes compete. There hasn't been a lot of coverage in the past on women's hockey, and fortunately, it is beginning to grow, and it's exciting to see all these young women and all these young athletes get excited to go to games and excited to start the sport and play the sport. And it's one of the most humbling things, and one of my favorite things about being a hockey player is being able to inspire a younger generation and be able to talk to them and see the excitement on their faces when even something as simple as a wave or a smile can do to those little kids that look up to you. So I'm really grateful that I have a platform to be able to do that. And I hope that I can continue to keep involving kids in the game and working with them when I can.
How emotional were you when you knew it was over at the University of Maine?
It was tough. It was a tough loss, losing 3-1 to Northeastern. I guess it was 2-1. They scored an empty netter, but it was a really close game. We were up 1-0 heading into the third period, and we were holding them. We were holding them tight, and we were doing a good job and just working as a team. And unfortunately, they're an amazing team, and they ended up scoring 2 goals in the third period. But I really wish we had a won. But I'm definitely proud of my team and proud of everything we did this year. But I remember we just went through the handshakes and everything, and it was hard to keep the tears back. And my goalie partner, Jillian Flynn, for the past 4 years, her and I are pretty close, and we just hugged each other, and we started sobbing. And I'm just like, I love you, man. And it was hard. And her and I just sat in the dressing room, I think, probably for almost 40 minutes, just delaying that moment when we had to take the jersey off for the last time. So speaking of that, though, after that weekend, I think we wore our jerseys home on the bus, and I think we didn't take him off for 3 or 4 days. So definitely proud to be a Black Bear, and I always will be.
Well, we're proud to have you on Sports Inclusive, but moreover, Carly, we're proud of you here across the Maritimes. Your journey in the game is truly an inspiration. Thanks so much, and best of luck in Buffalo.
Thank you so much, Craig. I really appreciate it.